Hi, I'm Nadia and I'm the Yogi.
And I'm Michelle and I'm the Blonde.
And this is the Yogi and the Blonde podcast.
In this podcast, we offer guidance,
Motivation,
education,
and inspiration
to help you adopt healthy habits you can sustain for life.
If you enjoy the podcast and would like further information,
head over to our Instagram or YouTube pages.
You can find the links in the bio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Good day.
Good day, Michelle says. Hello, welcome.
I was going to say good afternoon, but it might be good morning or good evening.
It might be, for us, it's Friday, but by the time you guys listen to it, it might be Wednesday or Monday or Thursday. Who knows, right?
Might be 3 years in the future.
Oh, that would be so cool.
That's so trippy.
Welcome to that. Welcome to the Yogi and the Blonde. Michelle and I always have a bit of a discussion beforehand. We want to make sure we're in the same space, same page on things. Obviously, we plan things out, but it's always good to check in every day, right? I don't know. I check in with my clients every day. I'm sure you do the same, Michelle.
Not every day. Every day, every literal day, or the clients of the day.
The clients of the day. Ooh, good.
Yes.
Yeah. That is very good. Yeah, I check in with those clients that day when they come in. How are you doing? How's the energy? How's any new injuries? What should I be aware of? So we do that. We check in. So today we are going to be talking about the advantages and disadvantages for measuring progress. This is an interesting topic because when you listen to other podcasts and you read a different literature, there's always one is much better than the other. And both Michelle and I have talked about it, and we both feel pretty much the same about how not one is better than the other. It depends what you're doing. And it also, you can do more than one than the other. And I think life is very much that way when you've got different modalities or anything like that. That's how I view it. I don't know. Yeah.
Just to be clear, we are talking about body composition.
Thank you.
Specifically, not because you can track progress for anything really. But this episode is about body composition.
Yeah, thank you. Michelle's good at clearing things up. She knows what I'm talking about, but I'm like ranting off. So thank you for
I know what you're talking about, but no one else does yet.
Come on, read my mind, people. Read my mind. Oh, go again with the whole I got to get a longer cord, man. I'm waiting. I've ordered one. So I'm waiting for it. So
because you're too expressive for this cord. This cord is holding you back.
You know, I'm French, so we like to speak with our hands like Italians, like any,
Yeah. Increasing your NEAT.
I'm increasing my NEAT. That's so good. Now, Michelle, I want to ask you, what's for you personally, not for your clients, but for you personally, do you do any measurements?
I do.
Okay.
If I fluctuate my thoughts and feelings on my body throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a personal trainer. I'm very interested in exercise, and I'm keen to gain muscle. So I like to track my progress in my body. When you're growing muscle, some people call it bulking, which I just hate. Sounds yucky, but essentially if you're trying to gain mass, you're bulking. And when you're doing that, you might gain a little bit of unwanted extra fat. So at various points throughout the year, I might put myself on a little diet just to get rid of some of my excess fat, see where I'm at, and then continue with my muscle building endeavors. So I do not measure progress throughout the year. Sometimes I'm just happy where I am. I'm not particularly trying to grow muscle. I'm not particularly trying to lose weight. I'm just as I am, and I don't really use any measurements during those times. But if I am on a mission, whether that be to get bigger or smaller, I do track my scale weight. and I take progress photos.
Yeah.
And I use tape measurements also. So I do 3 main methods when I am tracking, which isn't all the time.
Yeah.
What about yourself? I know that you are on a challenge journey at the moment.
I was on a challenge journey. I'm off that. This is something Michelle and I will talk at a future podcast, but I do have my own coach. Someone brand new, actually. I've been following for a little while on social media, and he's a New Zealander, like he lives in New Zealand, but just resonated with just the way, you know, I'm all about health and wellness, right? You know, breath work, meditation, yoga, you know, all of that. And just helping with my nutrition as my body has changed with the hormone changes and stuff. What's fascinating is I'm holding a lot in the midsection, right? So that's what I'm working on. But it's funny because I'm active. Why am I holding on to that weight? There's other things besides the exercise that's going to take that weight. And that's what we're also working on. So, and it's great. It's great because I'm learning from it. And I am now doing measurements. I've been doing measurements this year since Jan, and I never did. I do photos once in a while. And for my kidneys, I have to weigh myself just because I got to kind of track their water retention as well, because I can spike up to 7 kgs of water retention within days. So, and that's scary in itself because you're like 7 kgs, like it's crazy amounts, very uncomfortable. It's happened a few times, about twice now since I've learned about my kidney disease since 2008. But yeah, but when it comes to weighing for myself, I don't really fixate too much on it. I'm aware of it, but that's the one thing I do is the measurements, photos, and weigh. But what's interesting is when I was doing the challenge, it was 12 weeks. It was every 4 weeks where we had to do progress photos and measurements. And the measurements were like bicep, chest, waist, hips, and thighs. With this coach, it's just waist and hips. And that's probably having to do with my composition of where I'm at a healthy state, and especially like with obesity and knowing in that state as well. And that's like hip waist ratio. And then pictures and weigh. I have to do that every week. He does a check-in with me every week and stuff, and I have to do that. And that's where I learned that my hips are dropping, but not my waistline. So, and I know what that is, and him and I are discussing about it, and it's stuff that I'm working on, and I'm not going to go really into sharing that because it's my journey and I'm not ready to share at the moment. But it is what it is. Yeah, so that's me at the moment. And I hate the scales. I hate the scales because just even seeing a lot of my clients, they cringe. What about you?
Yeah, the scales is so tricky because some people really tie their emotional state to a number that comes up on the scale. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that a body weight scale is just that. It is your body weight. And when people step on a scale, they are thinking about their fat.
Yep.
Not about their whole body. And like you said, you can gain on occasion 7 kilos of water. And if you were dieting and you had kind of tied this value to the number on the scales and said, yes, this is the number. If you get on the scale and see that it's 7 kilos up, you know, that for some people that can ruin their day.
It is. Yeah, no, I get it.
So they can be quite damaging if the mindset isn't right.
I like how you said that with the mindset, to be honest.
The mindset.
Mindset is such a big thing with that. And I think that's why I hate the scales, is because everybody gets that mindset. And the reason why I hate it is because as females, our weight will change because of water retention. And the other thing is, like you were saying, everybody's focused on fat. But if you start losing fat and then you're putting on muscle, your weight may not change or it might go up.
Yeah,
but you're in better shape. You're the size of you're a lot smaller. So, and also what I use the scale is to know how much water that individual person needs to be drinking. That's the only reason why I like using the scale. Pardon me. But yeah, but I just do it just to please them. But I make sure that they do not attach a judgment on that number.
Yeah. And I think if it's so much easier said than done, but if you can separate emotion from the scale, you could just view it as data. If I am going through a stage of weighing myself, if I, like I said, I'm trying to gain muscle, or if I'm trying to lose fat, I will weigh myself every day. And some people might think, oh my God, they would dread the thought of weighing themselves every day. But if you can separate the emotion and view it as data and step on the scale and go, oh, wow, how interesting. I'm 500 grams heavier than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
I wonder what that is. If you can view it as data and recognize that this is your whole body weight, you might just need a big poo. Sorry to go there so early on in the podcast, but if it's in your body, it's adding to your body weight. It's your whole body, your poos and your wees, your hydration. You might have just had a big bottle of water. I'm trying to bring the tone up. Nadia's lost the plot because I said poo on a podcast. Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Okay. I did that this week because I was high pitch. I think the mic didn't pick up the high pitch.
Ah.
I did that this week. So it's so funny that you said that, because on my check-in day, before I even get dressed, I always measure myself naked, right? And I stand up against the mirror, the mirror. My mirror. Why do I want to say look at the little naked girl at like 3:34 in the morning, but in front of my mirror, and so to make sure things are in line, right? And then I weigh myself, and if I had it, and I had to go. I had number 2s to do a poo, but I weighed myself, and then I went to the loo, got dressed, let myself relieve, and then I was like, huh. I undressed myself. I jumped back onto the scale. It was lighter. So
how big was your poo, Nadia?
To that. It was
how many grams of poo?
Oh my, that's a good one. It was I think it was probably about 500 grams.
Half a kilo.
Yeah.
That's enough to send someone into a tailspin. Good for you.
I always have a good big poo in the morning. I always have a good big poo. Yeah.
Get it out. Let your digestive system do its business. Nice, good, regular. So, but if you didn't think of the scales in that way, if you didn't view it as data, you might look on there and go, oh my God, I've gained half a kilo.
I know.
What have I done? Oh my God, I feel awful. I'm not going to eat a cake ever again. And it can send you into a spiral and a spin, and it can be really detrimental, because what more often than happens is that you start to punish yourself by restricting yourself, and then because you've restricted yourself so much, you dive headfirst into a packet of biscuits a few days later because you're just desperate for them. So it can be really detrimental, but actually it could just be a poo. You've not gained half a kilo of fat, which is what you care about. You just need a big poo, or you ate a big meal, or you ate a meal that had a higher salt content, and in which case you're retaining more water than you would normally,
or lots of carbs.
Yeah, you're retaining that water. If you have a menstrual cycle, you might be starting to build up your endometrial lining. Oh, I think I said that right.
But then there's also the moon. So the moon phase, like I've noticed for myself that I tend to retain a bit more water when full moon's on. So that's everybody's different though. Everybody's different.
Yeah. So, and we're always changing. And this is why I said I weigh daily, because you can start to pick up on trends. So if you also track your cycle, over a period of time, you might be able to go, oh, yeah, so I tend to gain 2 kilos in the week before my cycle.
Yep, that's right.
So you can start to see patterns, you can start to see trends, but this is only possible if you can totally separate your emotion from the number on there. And we've talked about this before. It's if you are on a journey trying to change your body composition, if you are doing all of the behaviors and all of the processes that you need to do, and if you focus on those, ticking those off day in, day out, then you know you're doing the right things that are going to elicit the change that you want. So stepping on the scales daily is just something to kind of supplement that. But if it's higher than what you think it's going to be, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not working. If you're still doing all of the things that are right. And actually, I had a conversation with a client just this week.
Yep.
They are on medication. And they have gained 4 kilos on the scale.
Wow.
And were very bothered by this. So I said to them, have you changed your diet? No. Have you reduced your exercise, your movement? No. In which case, it's highly likely to be something to do with the medication that you're taking, because you cannot just gain 4 kilos of fat overnight if you haven't made any significant changes to your lifestyle.
That's right.
So speak to your GP, get some reassurance. It could be that with the medication that you're on, you're retaining weight. So if you're doing all of the right things and you see these big spikes and big changes in the scale, it's more than likely that something else is going on. But if you can use it as data, then you can use it as a way of tracking a trend. Are you trending up or are you trending down?
Yeah. Again, this is all data, and it's being in charge of your health. This is what this is all about. It's anything, and that's like tools and various apps and stuff. You know, we've talked about MyFitnessPals, and there's like Calm's another app where you can do for meditation. And I use like my Aura Ring. You've got a Fitbit, right, Michelle?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's interesting because I'm like, oh, my Oura Ring says this. And I'm sure you don't do the same with the Fitbit, but I use it as data to help me go, okay, I notice when it's like this is how I feel. So I'll share with you on this bit is that I'm really honing in on my breath work, and my ring measures HRV, which is heart rate variable. And I have noticed my heart rate variable is increasing, which is a good thing, through the breath work in general, through my sleep, which is amazing. So again, that's a tool. Now let's go back to the measuring the body composition, because we can go a bit on a tailwind here. Now, we've talked about the scales. Another thing that both Michelle and I mentioned that we both do personally is tape measuring. Now, tape measuring I like, because you think about body composition, your body's changing, and we're measuring this so we can see the change. Sometimes we don't see it when we look at ourselves. I'm looking at my bicep for those that are not watching.
Look at you improving.
Thank you, Michelle. And so we might not physically see it as we see ourselves day in, day out, but when we see it in the numbers and measure, go, oh, and then that actually makes us go, oh, wow, that's cool. Like I was saying earlier, my hips have dropped. The size of my hips have dropped, but my tummy, my waistline is not. And I know what it is. I'm just finally owning up to it, and I'm working through that process, and I'm going to be changing again things in my life and how I do things to help improve that. And that's what this is about. It's not to, I think Michelle will agree with me on this, is I wasn't like pissed off because my waist isn't going down, but it was like made me go, why is that? My hips are going down. I changed the way I eat. I exercise. What is holding? Like, what's holding there? Stress, imbalances of hormones, lack of sleep. Those are things that I'm now working on, and you're constantly working on and evolving and growing. And this is part of the process. So I'm using it as a tool. This is what I find that's been really helpful with it. But again, like Michelle said as well, I'm going to rectify, but I'm going to say it's a state of mind. It's about learning and becoming aware and working through it. And working through it can be start writing about it. And for me, like Michelle, she loves handwritten. I don't like my writing. And so I've been typing now. I got my iPad and it has a little keyboard and I type away. And I've even been recording things and thinking about things and processing and doing it that way. So then I can go back and see, oh, this is where I was then, or this is what I was thinking at that time. Now I've evolved to here. So it's the same thing with these measurements. We want to just not beat ourselves up and say, oh, I'm still fat around the stomach. It's so horrible. But hey, my legs are getting stronger and they're trimming down. What is holding now? This is where you question. There's usually like 5 whys when you like start questioning yourselves. Why? And that's how you dig through. Now, Michelle, what do you do with, how do you feel about tape measuring? I'm assuming possibly about the same, or how do you look at it?
Yeah, I use tape measure on myself when I'm interested in where I'm at. And I will use tape measures on clients on request. Actually, let me just explain perhaps my approach in terms of any measurements. With my clients, it's not something that I insist that they do, because I find that this kind of stuff is very goal dependent. And you actually just said something brilliant. A lot of the time it comes down to, I want to be stronger and I want to be healthier. And neither of those things can be measured on a scale or with a tape measure or any of the other methods that we're going to talk about, in which case it's kind of irrelevant to measure somebody's body, because actually that's not what they're interested in. So if my clients are interested in that and they have a very specific goal, then it is something that I will do for them as well. But it's not something I do as standard that I force everybody into, but I will do it. I do it on myself. I haven't got anything against it. It is just, like I said, the mindset and everything is around it can often be complicated. So tape measurements, yes, love them. The only thing I would say in terms of a disadvantage of them is that you really do have to be careful that you measure in the same place every time. So if you are measuring, look for a landmark on your body. I would go for my tummy button, or I've got a mole, which is just above my tummy button, which is a great place to measure. And that mole's going to stay there unless I have it removed. So that's a good point. I was measuring my partner's biceps because he's on a journey to increase his size and he has a tattoo. So there's a line as part of the tattoo. And I made a note that that's the line. So we know each time we come back, that's the point at which we measure.
And they also think with the bicep, if you don't have anything, is you flex and you see where the middle part is relaxed and then measure from there is one way as well. And then the same with the hips. Like the hips, I always go to myself and I look at myself side view and I'm butt naked. That's how I do it because I just have myself. I don't have anyone else to measure me. So, but I do a side view, and this is how I measure clients as well, is naked? I see what, not naked, side view, looking at their, you smart ass. Yes, I make them, no.
Take off all your clothes.
Please, ignore Michelle. I do not do that. No, thank you. But I go from the side and see where the bum sticks out the most. And that gives me a good landmark for that.
But that could change. What if they go on a booty growth program and suddenly the way it's biggest is different? So but that's the thing though. That's part of the measuring, right? That's part of the measuring. If they're wanting to grow, I got to see where it's going. It's getting bigger, right? If they're wanting the booty to show, that's where we got to look, right? And the measurement. That's how I do it. And again, with measurements, there's not. This is actually shows a really good point with Michelle saying that, because the way she measures and the way that I measure, as long as it's consistent through the whole thing. So we have our own little way. Each personal trainer will have their own little way of doing it. But in generalization, if you're doing it yourself, again, landmark it, look at where your thigh is the biggest.
measure there. You know, if you don't have any landmarks on any molds or scars or anything like that, then just look at where it's the thickest. And if it gets to a point where it doesn't get any thicker and it's all the same length, just mark it down. You can measure from the hip down. There's all sorts of ways of doing it. And think of it as a tool rather than something to infatuate about. It's a tool. It helps you to keep track. It's just like anything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the next?
And it is important. Sorry, just because you mentioned it with your current coach, the waist measurement is something that, and I can't remember the exact hip to waist ratio, but you might remember, there are health implications if this ratio shifts. So it might be that if you are really interested in your health, then those are two measurements to be aware of.
And I see that's why he does it. But for myself, with my clients, when I talk about measurements, when we do the consultation, I ask them, because I plainly ask them, I'm like, how do you want to measure this? I can give you some options. We can do all of them. We can do none. We can, I make them, like, rather than me being a dictatorship, it's like working as a team, like what's going to work for you. And I've had people, no, I don't want to do pictures. I don't even want to see myself. I'll be so judgmental. Great. Awesome. Glad that you honor that and you're aware of that. Is there anything else? Or if they say, no, that's fine. I really, it's up to them. If they're infatuated about something specific, then I question them about it. Not question them in a negative, harsh way, but just try to find out why is that, maybe, and try to help them actually shift the way of thinking. If there is not a bad way, let me rephrase that, a negative mindset attachment to it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And that is so common. Often you'll have people come to you and they're like, I want to lose 20 kilos. It's like, 20 kilos is quite a specific number. Is there a reason why 20? And like you said, the why. Yep. And when you get down to it, people look back at their life and they're like, well, when I was 20 kilos lighter, I was happy. And it's like, yeah, but you were living a completely different life then. You might have been at uni. You might have had very few responsibilities. Life would have felt more fun and carefree then, but that wasn't anything to do with your body weight. That was just the different life that you were living. And if you do come into it with that bad mindset and you think you're delaying your happiness until you get to this random number of weight loss or random measurement, if you're delaying your happiness and your life until you get to that point, you're going to get there and realize that that isn't the reason that you're unhappy. It's other things. So I think, the mindset around having these specific things, and you don't know that unless you ask and work with each client individually. So that's a great approach.
Yeah. Now, what's the next one we've got in the list there? We talked about scales, measurements. I can never say the word right. Can you say it? Capillars. Yeah. Callipers. I said capillars again, didn't I?
You did, yes. We measure your blood vessels.
Okay. Now, both Michelle and I have talked about this one as well, and we both learnt about them through our studies. I don't like them, but that's just my opinion. But it depends on the person. If somebody really wants to measure their body fat and they want to know their body fat, fine. But I don't like do it in that kind of way. But for like generalization, if you are maybe doing bodybuilding or bikini competition, any of that kind of stuff, you would need to know your body fat because your goal would be to getting to that point. but when we look, Michelle and I are just talking about generalization, the general public. That's a different kettle in its own kettle of fish. And then you would go to a coach that specializes in body composition for competitions, bodybuilding and bikini competitions and stuff like that. But for general public, to me, I always question, like, why do you want to know your body fat? Like, hip to waist ratio is a lot better than body fat if you're not bodybuilding and if you're not doing that. That's my 2 cents in that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It just depends what your goal is.
Yeah, it all depends. I have a set of calipers in my locker. For those people that don't know what calipers are, they're the kind of pinchy thing. So how we would measure somebody with calipers is we literally pinch your skin, try and get some folds in your skin, and then we attach this pinchy thing and it gives us a measurement, and then we input this into a wider equation and it gives us an estimate of your overall body fat percentage. But like Nadia said, unless you are in a sport that where that is relevant, it is very detailed, and you might ask us to do it and we can do it, but then what do you do with that? You know?
Yeah, really.
So fine, cool, bit uncomfortable, bit awkward to get in and pinchy.
And you've got
maybe a bit advanced.
And the thing is too, if you've got a bit of weight on, you're holding, like, let's say your midsection where you want to pinch, that could be quite part of my French, but a bit of a mind fuck kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, we're literally grabbing your fat and pinching it.
And that's not a nice thing. That is not but again, not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just giving you guys, just educating you on what it's all about. And is it something, and this is where you question yourself with the whys of why do you think that is? And this is something that you would want to talk to your coach, to your personal trainer, and have these discussions, and making sure they're open-minded about it as well, as long as they're open-minded and they're forcing you. Now, if you're with someone and they're forcing you to do something that doesn't feel comfortable for you, then walk away. Just voice your opinion. Don't feel pressured doing a specific measurement if you don't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah,
that would be my next advice.
Mean anything to you? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why we both approach it and asking our clients what they want.
Yeah. Progress photos. You mentioned that you offer progress photos as an option to your clients, as I do myself, and I use that as a measurement for myself. But you're not as keen for yourself?
Oh, no, I do. I didn't like it at first, because when I think about where it used to be, again, playing with that thing, but lots has happened in the past year and a half. A lot of emotional stress for me, with my dad and my body changing, and just a lot of things happening, and especially with my body changing and learning more and being at that age. Okay, I'm 45. I can't be eating what I was eating, the same thing when I was in my 30s. You know, I got to change the way that I eat, and just various things. So I've put on a better weight. I've done pictures before. It's just in this past year and a half, I'm like, I just cringed at it, but I don't now, because I have worked on my mindset. I have worked on the way that I view this, and I just look at it as a measuring tool, right? It's the one thing that I would say that I don't probably like, just experiencing doing photos every 4 weeks compared to every week. I don't like the every week thing. But that's just how he does it, right? And I'm not dissing how he does it. I'm not dissing that at all. Each to their own is my theory. And it's just from my own experience. But I like the photos. I like the photos because I love putting photos next to each other, because I did that. I at my 4-week challenge, 12-week challenge, I picked up a January photo, but from 2022, because I was wearing the same bikini. And I was like, oh my God, what a big difference. But then I realized that's from 2022. But I'm like, but it was still good to see that change within the past year. And that was amazing to see. And I think photos are great for that as well, to see that progression.
Yeah.
Now,
I agree. Because when you look at yourself daily in the mirror, we look at ourselves daily. I mean, I don't mean standing there studying ourselves, but you see yourself every day in passing, in a mirror, in a reflection, whatever. When you look at yourself daily, you can't see the changes. You cannot see the changes happening. And it's not until, like you experience, when you look back and go, oh my God, wow.
Yeah.
I have changed a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And it's something that I broach with my clients. And actually, I had a really funny thing with one of my clients who he wants to bulk up.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how detailed do you want to get? Do you want to track this? Do we want to measure where you're at? Can we take some photos? And his first reaction was, oh my God, please don't put me on Instagram. So I think as an industry, so many PTs do it, so many coaches do it, the before and after photo.
I really hate that. It's
and
just like,
so many people hate that. And so I always say to people, if you don't want me to take a photo of you, that's fine. But take one for yourself, take one of yourself, set up a tripod, set up a selfie, take one of yourself, keep it for yourself. You don't have to show it to anybody. You can forget about it. Don't look at it again, but look at it again in 6 months' time, and you will be glad that you took the photo, because you'll see that you have made change. Even if you don't feel like you have, you will see and you'll go, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Even sometimes, like, taking photos of, you don't have to be naked, but if you've got like skin, you got tights on and something, a tight t-shirt on and stuff, you can see some
changes.
You can see some changes. Now, doing it in a sports bra and tights, that's another option as well. You do what feels comfortable. For myself, I do it in my bikini. That's just me. That's just how I like to do it. What about yourself, Michelle? Do you have a go-to outfit or something that you wear when you, well, it's not an outfit, but you know what I mean? Like, do you do in your skivvies? What do you do?
What's a skivvy?
Isn't skivvies like underwear and bra?
Oh, I've never heard that. Skivvies to me sounds like a sailor thing. Or like something that sailors would wear. Thank you. There's a new word. Bikini.
Bikini. So
Bikini. I wear bikinis on the beach. I wear teeny tiny tanga bikinis, so my whole butt's out. So I do it on the beach. So that's what I wear when I do my photos. And I don't share my photos with anybody. They're for myself. I take the photos. I use a tripod. I wear the same bikini every time I do take photos. Try and do it in the same position, try and do it in similar lighting. And you can use your layout app that comes on your phone. You can put them next to each other. Great, easy. So I find it really easy, less emotional.
What I like with
more
the app,
relevant.
Do you know what's quite cool? The app that my coach is using, because he's not local, so he's an online coach for me. Hey, what I really like with this app, I'm really loving this app, and this is an app I'm thinking I might look at eventually, or just see what it's all about, and just I'll talk to you about it later. But what I loved about it, as I learned this week when I was doing my check-in, is that you can pick a photo and compare it to another one, and it just brings it right by side, and you can like zoom in and stuff like that. It's quite cool.
Very clever.
Yeah. So, and again, it's just, I'm going to share this one. I remember this girl I had, it was within the first year of me PTing, and she'd go to classes, and she'd see me once a week. And it was interesting because she's like, oh, I don't feel like I'm losing it. I'm like, let's do a bloody picture. So we did a picture, and then I sent them to her as well, so she had them. And I think it was about 8 weeks later, she done photos on her own, and she showed it to me. And I was like, see, I told you, you are changing. She's like, but it just doesn't feel like it. I'm like, because you are also, it's the story and the image you already have in your head, right? This is how you see yourself. You're not currently seeing yourself present. Again, that's that whole ego thing coming through. Yeah. So, yeah, it was interesting. And it just like, her eyes were just like, you seen her like a little bit happier, and just the posture change with that confidence that, oh, I am doing something right. Yeah. That's good. Now, the next thing we've got on is a body composition scan. Am I missing anything else? No, that's it. Body composition scan is another one. Now, I have done this personally. Michelle, I think you've never experienced one, have you? Or have
done this? Yes.
You did.
There's a company in Auckland.
Yes.
They have a mobile scanner. I stood on it, held on to something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had it once.
Yeah. Same. I've done it twice. This was another gym I used to PT at, and they would come in and you could book in and stuff. And it was interesting, but with this, you had to take your shoes off. You had to be in the bra, like your sports bra. You couldn't have any clothing that was like baggy, because it literally scans. So you've got to wear tight socks, shoes off, sports bra on. You stand there holding, and it scans you. And it's quite fascinating. And your hair even has to be put back. Because I've got long hair and I'm pulling, my hair's all up at the moment. But yeah, you've got to make sure your hair, because for the one that I was on, it actually, because I remember I had a ponytail, and a ponytail or a bun, and from the back you see this big lump when it came out.
It rotated around you.
Yeah, this one was
fancier than the one I did.
Yeah, it rotated around me. It scanned me. It told me like my bone density, my water, my fat, my muscle mass, just everything. And it was because I had done it twice, it was good, but at the same time, you got to check in with your state of mind. Yeah, I think those are like, if you're wanting something really accurate and you're wanting to know how much body fat, what's your muscle mass, how much water, all that. And I think it'll even tell you if you're dehydrated or hydrated. It's a way to go if you're wanting that kind of detail and you're using it as data, because that's what it's spitting out is data. Might as well. I think they're about the one that I had done. I think it was about $60, and you can get like you can buy a certain amount, and it's a bit cheaper and whatnot. So yeah, and those are the
for that sounds so cheap. And I think for me, this is probably a disadvantage of this method, is how accurate it would be. Yeah, and I guess if you were to kind of replicate the conditions, because as we know, where you are in your menstrual cycle, hydration, all of those things make a difference to our bodies at any given time. So I guess if you could try to replicate the conditions in which you had your first scan to compare to your second, I guess that would give you more trends. But I would always be wondering, how accurate is this, just based on the technology? Because my understanding, and the one I had, was definitely way basic compared to yours, because I think the way it worked, I held onto something and they send a wave up through your body, and that has so much, it's really influenced by your hydration status and things like that, but then purports to tell you what your body fat percentage is and your bone density, but it's based on something changeable. So I'm not sure how the one that goes around you works,
because it's the same thing. It has the scan from the feet, but it also goes around you and does your measurements. It measures like your biceps, your thighs. It does all the measurements and everything as well. So it does everything all at once. And those like do a rotation. You stand on this little platform, you got to stay still, right? And it doesn't take long. It's like less than 30 seconds or whatever like
Yeah.
that. But I've got one of those scales. I don't know if it's a good quality one, but where you step on it and it gives you your BMI, it gives you your water. It even tells you how old your physical body is. Because you could be 45, but it might say that you're like 55 or 39 or whatever, depending on how healthy your body is. And it also depends on your fat ratio. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we've tackled everything, and it gives you some ideas, and just choose what suits you. If you're wanting lots of good data, maybe what might be worth playing around with is what both if you could hear both here. Let me try that again. Both here, Michelle and I, we use more than one measuring tool. Because you can get more data out of that. But if you're wanting something quick and easy, I would say get a body scan, do the ones that do the rotation, that actually do the measurements, everything like that. So you got that all at once. But if you're with a PT, even if you don't want to spend the money, you want to do it budget wise, measuring tape, not very much. And photo, you can use your cell phone, very easy. And one thing you can do, great way to do it when you are using your phone, set it up. Put it on video yourself, the front, the side, and the back. And then when you are looking at the video, play it, pause it to the position you want, screenshot it. Then you don't have to go back and forth. So that's another little tip I thought I'd share.
That's a great trick. Can I just say one more that just popped into my mind?
No, you're not allowed.
Pretty please.
Go ahead.
It's very basic. If all of this sounds awful and you're not interested in any of this, put on a pair of jeans or a dress that you love. And if it feels a bit tight, fine. Put them on again in 4 months' time, further down your journey. How do they fit now? Do they fit you? Are they too big for you? Cool.
Thank you. That's the one I forgot. That is one that I do, is I'll offer tape measuring, photos, and clothing. And a lot of people go with their clothing because they'll do that little black dress or some nice pants or shirt that you want to fit back into. And
that's what matters. Nobody knows how much you weigh. We don't have a number floating around above our head. No one knows how much we weigh. No one knows what our measurements are, but they see you. You see yourself. You know how you feel in clothing. So that's all that matters. That's the one. That's what matters, how you feel.
It's all about you, baby, and how you feel, not about what others think.
Absolutely.
About how you
Message
feel.
of the day.
It's about what you think and how you feel.
It's how you think and feel. Who cares about anyone else?
Michelle? How you
do it.
Okay, that is us for today's episode. We could go on and on, but let's leave it at that. I think we've given you guys a lot of information and different variations, and try what works best for you. Otherwise, thank you for joining Michelle and I in our podcast today, and we will see you next time. Thank you for joining. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you have enjoyed listening to our podcast today
and want to hear more, please subscribe using the button below.